Hello everyone, welcome to OWTV. My name's Commander X and I am joined by head coach of Spacestation Gaming, ChrisTFer, to talk about their recent match. But before that, Chris, I wanted to get stuck in. You've had a few weeks with the new team now. How have those first few weeks with the team been?
Oh, it's been really good, to be honest with you. I really enjoyed myself. I forgot you can enjoy coaching again. You know, like it's the last 6 months. This has been a total breath of fresh air. Good team, no tilting, no outside the game issues. Very coachable bunch. Yeah, I really enjoyed my time.
Ah, good to hear. A turnaround.
Yeah,
you were due, mate. You were due, mate. Yeah.
I was due.
We've seen some developments in the roster as well. Obviously, Scissors came in pretty early on, and we've kind of seen Scissors phase out now. Was that kind of always the plan, or is it just how the meta has gone, or how did that come about?
Well, I guess like the plan before the season was that like Scissors was never going to play. Like Scissors was very much just like a sub option, and then as the Genji Tracer meta kind of unfolded, we thought, we might need to consider it. I think what happened, in reality, it's funny because we were like, everyone's like, oh my God, it's a Genji Tracer meta, blah, blah, blah. But I actually think it isn't a Genji Tracer meta. I think across the world, it's that DPS duo specifically, it's pretty phased out, right? Like there's tons of options on DPS. You know, you see tons of Reaper, tons of Sim, and then obviously the teams that want to make hit scan work, it was always going to be one where I think a lot of teams are so motivated to make hit scan work because they have, like, if you got Quartz, you are so motivated to make hit scan work because, yeah, that's a real key component to victory for Twisted Minds, you know.
Yeah.
And I think the same to a degree with like someone like Merit or whoever. And then I think for us, we see other teams trying to do it, and I think naturally maybe the way that I think the problem is it depends on how nitty and how gritty you want to get on this interview here. But I think one of the key fundamentals to playing Genji Tracer with Wu Yang Kiri is the way it works is that you kind of get these little two groups, you know, support one and DPS one together, and then that's it. And then what you have is this independent hamster that rolls around that requires 0 healing, can come to you for healing, can get full HP off a mini health pack because great design from Blizzard. If you don't play said hamster, it's really difficult to play that comp because you have this guy that's constantly needing healing. So therefore, the system itself has to change. It's really difficult to play with this really wide, like both supports, both DPS doing their own thing. Someone has to look after Hawk. And then once you've got that, because someone has to look after Hawk, someone has to look after the person that healing Hawk. And then your supports naturally have to play together. And then it's hard for your DPS. So it kind of all makes sense with the way that our roster's built, that hit scan is actually fine theory-wise too for the way that we need to play. I think if we'd played D.Va Genji Tracer versus Ball Genji Tracer, I actually think you're in a massive counter-comp there because the Ball does so much better with the double flex DPS. So it's kind of like, a cocktail of millions of things, you know?
We've seen you bring in a lot of Sim as well, which at this point really has become your trademark move. But historically, you've always had players like Backbone or Bits when you've helped. There's been players like UB, and these have been teams that have either had the chance to gain loads of experience on Sim over the years, or they come in with a super experienced Sim player. Playing Sim on this team, none of these players are really known for that hero or that type of comp before. So has it had to be a different approach, or how has it been sort of teaching Sim to a team that aren't as familiar with it?
I think with Lenny specifically with the Sim is I think to learn Sim, like I think some people, I don't know, there's constant, I don't know, it's like clash of ideas. You've got like Unter Theory, and Unter Theory is you can only play with the heroes that you're known for on your Liquipedia. So if you've got 2 pictures on Liquipedia, if you ever pick a hero that isn't those 2 heroes, then you're throwing the game, you know? And then you've got, I don't know, like some sort of Korean theory, which is Merit can play Tracer, you know? And then somewhere there is this, you have to find the balance, you know, like, can you learn another hero? And I feel like with Sim's a hero where people are like, oh, I'll never be able to learn it. But I think if you can read the game well, if you can communicate really effectively, like you can be a leader and you're coachable, Sim is the easiest hero to learn in the game because assume that you can have someone that can teach it. And for all the people that like to flame me because I can't coach dive, I think I can coach Sim. I think even the general public they're going to give me that one, I think. So with Lenny, you know, like once I convinced him, I said, listen, like Sim is really important for our structure. If you want to play with an off tank and you want to play with a hit scan, Sim really sets that up really, really well, especially in the current meta. And I guess what we ended up doing is we just ended up doing this thing where we do a scrim and I say, okay, Lenny, I'm teaching you a new TP. And he's like, day by day, we teach him, you know, like the kill TP and then the flip TP and then the sim, we call it lip style sim. And then eventually we just like each TP has been kind of learned in a step-by-step process. I watched back Suravasa. I need to teach him one more TP today, but once we do that one, we're there. But the thing is, Lenny is 100% reads the game super effectively. His communication level is really elite, like can 100% control the team. He's super easy to coach, like actually a dream like to work with that type of player. I think when I worked with Kev, I just don't, I think Kev obviously reads the game well and he's coachable, but I don't think he could lead a team the same way that Lenny could. And I also think it would be more suicidal to play Sim in Europe than it would be in North America where no one's playing it. So I think it's really fine. You know, I think it's one of those where if you lose on Sim, you know, Unter's disciples would be like, oh, why are you putting Lenny on Sim? You're trolling the game. But I think somewhere, I mean, the good news is it was successful, right? Like every time we picked it, actually, it was hard to say that the Sim wasn't. We were flying through attacks and stuff. So I don't think we're as reliant on it as other teams have been. Like maybe London, we would have been, and then like Alcad and TM when they had their Sim runs. I think the fact that Lenny is world class at other heroes is really useful. But I still think it's good. I think it fits the type of team that we want to be. And I think Lenny's actually really good at it already.
What's it been like for the others as well? Because one thing that is maybe goes overlooked, I feel sometimes with sim comps, is what you need someone to lead, but you need everyone else to listen. If someone is not listening or misses it or doesn't understand what the call is, for all the other players, has it been easy enough, them sort of integrating into how to use the TPs, when it's for them, when it's not for them, everything like that?
Yeah, I think similar to what we said at the start, the communication on this team has been an absolute dream. It's so much better than TU was by a factor of 5 million. Like, actually, we have some really good, like, it sounds stupid, but we have some really good listeners. Like, I think Hawk is the best listener I've ever played with. And it's like, it's such a weird thing to say, oh, wow, listen, but it's
a difference maker.
It's such a hard skill. And yeah, the whole team is that. So I think with everything like that, I think we're really good. Like, we need to improve our plans. I think that's like, we're decent, but we need to do better. But actually, the ability to make plans and to communicate it is really good.
Is there someone who is the plan maker in the team? Is it sugar free, or does it, maybe it is when it's sim, or does it vary depending on the comp?
Yeah, you're right. I think it does depend on the comp. I think that, like, the thing with Lenny is he's such a good caller that when he's on Tracer, he's world class at it, but then it also wastes his ability to control the team a little bit. We have it like kind of a mix. When it's sim, it's Lenny. When it's not, like, everybody can do it. Everybody's quite capable. We don't have we don't have one of those communication structures at the moment where one person takes the lead over everything. I think it's pretty communal, but everybody can make plans. Everybody can listen really well. So I think from like a communication aspect, I'm really pleased with the mix of our team.
All coming together then. I want to get into the nitty gritty of the game as well. Because obviously, I mean, I think the whole crowd, the whole audience was really hoping this game would deliver after the sort of 3-0 day we had, and just about delivered at the last second. But going into it, you'd sort of set the stage. You were giving it big on the broadcast beforehand. Did you think it worked? Do you think you got to them? Did you get a reaction, do you think?
Nah, I think as soon as Kosaurus clapped back, we were fucked, you know? Like, it was once everybody saw that Kosaurus clap back, there was
rattled.
No way to win it. Yeah. Completely rattled.
Starting with Illios, obviously we go to Ruins and it is Zarya into the Winston as well. Obviously, this very much feels like both teams playing to their strengths in all of this. Do you think you're favoured in that matchup? Or is it just how much of it is skill based, or is it like 60-40, 70-30 them? Where does it kind of land?
Yeah, so I think Illios specifically, I think they did pretty well. I guess because we scrimmed them like a huge amount, like 4 times a week, up until apart from that last week before we played them, our guess was that their scrum results against us had been good enough to where they weren't gonna change their comp. So we expected to see like Ball, Genji, Tracer, or like basically some equivalent of Ball. And then what they ended up doing for large parts of the series, including at the start of Ruins, was like they would play like with a Ram and a Hanzo, and they would say, well, they kind of wanted to match us on like an off tank and a hit scan, but they wanted to kind of play with a stronger off tank and a hit scan that's better at range. And that actually was pretty effective in terms of just like a raw strategy against us. Like when we roll out on Zarya Cass, it's because that's excellent against Ball or something. It's clearly less effective against a Ram. So I think they did well on Ruins. And yeah, I think in general, I mean, there is a little bit of irony in terms of Chris and Illios and the way that I just never
that map.
Like, it's back in the map pool, and I'm against dive teams again with an off tank. Like EWC, where I don't qualify, it's not in the map pool, and just like I never win with Illios, and I think that's probably the main disappointment with losing. Like I don't mind losing a regular season, but the fact that we won't, like they'll get to pick Illios for the rest of the playoffs and stuff is like a really big advantage for a team like that. Because I think that's probably the trickiest map to solve across the pool. It always has been.
Well, because we saw you take a lot of different approaches as well. Because over on Well, you went Farah and Freya. So obviously two heroes we have seen quite a lot on that map before. But how much of this was you just think that comp's the best version you guys have with your hero pools, and how much of that is a sort of gambit and that Infected just won't go Diva?
Well, I think it's like there was a time last season when I was on SSG EU and we would play against Ents, and Ents would do something really similar. They would play Diva, Farah, Soj, and it was like, this comp is really annoying if you have a main tank because it really does require a Diva swap. I mean, I think Infected swapped to Diva on Rialto and just like immediately sped run feeding. Like it was like so bad, And I think that is like I think that's a really nice comp in NA against the teams that NA play, because the Diva is really good with the Farah as like a double spam way. The Diva just kind of locks down the middle. We must have played it with Zarya on Well, obviously, because Diva was banned, or maybe we played it with Hazard.
You played with Hazard on Well, yeah.
But that ends up being like, it's kind of a new comp for us. It's kind of like a stun lock comp. When you play against it, the enemy team often just and then just gets like spammed to death. And like I said, I think it is good versus main tank teams. And yeah, I don't know. It feels somewhere that like Illios in general, it's quite tricky to match the Winston and the Ball if you just play with Diva Tracer. It feels like they have advantages there. So I think that type of comp's pretty useful.
And then the big one to talk about is obviously Lighthouse, which felt very much like this one was brought out of the archives here of an objective-focused comp to get yourselves on point. Didn't go as planned. I guess the initial question, because this is what I asked when I was watching, is you delayed for first TP. So you were waiting for point to unlock with the first TP.
Yeah.
But then I remember in London, we did this and then we stopped doing it because teams got too used to it, basically. So they would have the perfect setup, billion angles, everything ready to boop us when we came through. Was this something that had been did it just work in scrims in the week leading up to it? Or was it something that sort of changed? And
it's really tricky because obviously we never scrimmed that comp against TL, but we weren't naive, let's say. Like we kind of knew that they might have an inkling of the comps we're going to play. So what I wanted to do was on game day, I wanted to change the timings and the locations of the TP because I thought if I do it one day before, maybe there's a chance that TL won't get the read on it. But they still did. Fortunately, everyone knows the best place for Ball to roll out on Lighthouse is to just hang above point, because that's what all the good Ball players do, especially when you haven't scrimmed a team that's played Sim before. I mean, it's just insane. They can read the game really well. What can I say? If you don't win that first fight, it gets really tricky. Like that comp is really reliant on that. But yeah.
Well, a lot of the theory is you lose the first fight no matter what, but you cap first, and then you lose the first fight, you get 50, 60%, and you maybe have a sim wall or something, or a beat or something like that to come back with, and then you can just get the rest of the way and win with ults.
Yeah, and I think, to be fair, like I think even though the comp itself looks really weird, it's like, you see once we swap to a normal comp, and even though we win a fight, you see how difficult it is for us to like map control against that, because they just have so much point touch, and it just ended up being like, that was always the same for us on London, right? Like that map is really difficult because D.Va's banned, you know, like to beat those really good dive teams. That one, it's so hard to get any control of the point.
Well, yeah, I think even on London, when we had like arguably like where the meta was, like better heroes that were better at that type of thing in that meta, if we didn't win first fight, we wouldn't win that map ever. It was already hinged on that first bit. So going out on Illios, but it can happen, might happen again. Then we go to King's Row, and then this one is a Winston ban. Were you expecting them at this point to start playing more of a RAM? Was this something you anticipated when you did some of this, or was this a surprise for you guys going in?
Yeah, I didn't expect almost any RAM. I don't know. I think RAM is maybe underrated. Like I think people, because they saw the size of the nerfs, assume that the hero is unplayable. Whereas I think the role that he does is still the same. I think we more or less expected for them to play their dive stuff everywhere possible. Like we really thought they weren't going to play much apart from Ball and Winston. And they'll try to do double flex support and double flex DPS as much as possible. So yeah, I would say that was a surprise to us. I think to be fair, I think it was really good for them. You know, I think it was objectively good against what we played it objectively through us. So I think in terms of the preparation, like I think it's really hard to argue that didn't end up being a good decision for them. Just like the cope for our end is just, well, it's a dive map and we've already got them playing ground tank, hit scan mirrors, you know, like long term, that's going to become our bread and butter. But they made good decisions, and you know, the RAM was probably the thing that caused us the Hanzo was also quite annoying, but that was the thing that causes the
treated
most,
all right.
The most struggles across the series.
We saw you, because obviously, as you mentioned earlier, you sim on attack here and smashed it, really. Couldn't have asked for much more there. But then didn't use the sim on the defense here. I think you started Tracer on the first defense. What's the thinking here? Because we've actually seen quite a lot of sim on defense on King's Row, maybe in like Korea and stuff. Why not the sim on the defense? Yeah,
obviously, I think the way that Korea plays sim is totally different to the way that the West plays sim. You know, like Korea are never putting 5 people through a TP. You know, they're just using it for 1 or 2 people most of the time. And one thing that I think has always been true is the sim is incredibly good on attack, because you need to win 5 fights and you have brilliant point forcing ults. You know, like you just TP, you move the cart, and then you watch how we cap attack. Just there's no way they can handle the ult economy there. Whereas the defense, it's much more tricky. You know, like if you want to go kill TP something, then the cart is going to move. If you stand on cart, they're going to take angle. So I think generally speaking, the sim and that style has always been weaker on defense. You think about our Gibraltar, right? We would cap with 7 minutes on the clock, and then they would always full cap us back, and it would rely on. I think if you look at Alcad, Eichenwald versus VP, the same. They got full capped, but they just full capped quicker. TM versus Vision, Junkertown, they didn't play the same on the defense. They get full caps, but then they get to attack with their brawl stuff, and then they do it with more time. So I think it is a trend that comp in general on payload maps is better on the attack. I think for us, we now enter into a crossroads in terms of like this. If like both times we started Kiri Wu Yang, in the moment, in the heat, under the pressure, we ended up just, I want to go back to Lucio, I want to go back to Juno, I want to go back to playing like a brawl thing. So that might be something to consider, that we just maybe, like Falcons didn't touch Wu Yang, Alcad didn't touch Wu Yang, they just stay as brawly as possible. We might end up going in that direction going forward. Like the theory would say that double flex is good defense and the sim is a really good answer on attack, but it didn't work out clearly.
In the overtime as well, it felt like you obviously get full held in the overtime as well. What do you think went wrong there in terms of not giving yourself something to work with? I mean, obviously, like the very first TP, it actually took like an insane escape from Vega, maybe not.
Yeah, we were really unlucky not to win off that TP there. Like I think it was a really good spot, and I think the second one, I think we did the same. I think again, this is just the thing is like we've been a team for a few weeks. Lenny's only been playing Sim for a few weeks. Like a lot of this stuff is going to come. Like, he's got to learn to not TP onto the Ram's feet because he's just going to punch the whole lobby. And I think the second TP, he TP'd his high ground, but Ram was stood there and then causes all sorts of problems. And he did one Suravasa too, where we ended up getting really lucky, but he TP'd right into the Ram, who's slower than just punched us all repeatedly. So it's just like it was just a bad TP selection in the end. I think there's like the Ram is obviously good, but I think it's so easy to cap that with our comp if we play a different strategy. Or it's already in a video, okay? So don't worry.
Because then, end up losing that one. The defense, it was kind of a similar thing. I think like Sugar Free started reaping this time, but it was a similar kind of idea of just trying to play something that can control the sides more consistently. But then 2 maps down, then what's the team talk then? 2 maps down, probably hoping it was closer, obviously going in. What's the sort of mood within the team? What are you saying to them?
Yeah, I mean, that's a kick in the teeth because once you cap that first one with 3 minutes on the clock, you think, okay, we got them here. And then to end up losing that map feels really bad. I think in general, you can feel if the game is winnable. And there was no way that was a game that wasn't winnable, you know? Like, so I think for us, we just had to make a decision in the draft. Like either you take Escort now and hope to win it, and then, or you take Flashpoint now, which in theory should be our best game mode, and then just try to get some momentum on the board. And in the end, we were brave. We went with Rialto, which obviously ended up being the perfect decision. And with that said, I mean, we said, listen, if we win Rialto, the rest of the map pool, whatever they pick, this is like, we're in a good spot here, you know? As any series continues, both teams run out of good bans, you know, and then obviously, everything is likely to be open here. So I don't think there was too much depression. I think we felt that it was there for us. I think, to be fair, I think one of the positives from the series, I think the team was really good under pressure, didn't give up. Like a lot of the signs required to win a championship I saw from the team in those moments.
I was a bit surprised with the ball ban as well on Rialto. Because I guess, my initial impression going in is actually sort of maps like New Queen Street, maps like Suravasa. These are the really powerful ones to try and use a ball ban on. So when you guys pulled it out Rialto, there was a question of like, is this sort of too soon? I mean, you're 2 maps down in the series, so maybe there isn't a too soon. But you sound like you weren't as worried about Flashpoint and Push, actually. You thought in these game modes you almost had in the bag or had a bigger advantage on.
I mean, Push is tricky. Flashpoint, I think, in general, is really good for a brawl-based team. The problem with the logic that what you're saying is if I didn't ban Ball on map 3, I couldn't ban it the series because they can protect it.
They just protect it each time.
Yeah. So if you don't take it then I would, and then you'd get super flamed.
Yeah.
A full 5-map series and
yeah.
You didn't ban. Yeah. So I think it was like, yes, you guys are probably right that this isn't like the optimal place to ban Ball, but I couldn't ban it on map 1. I wasn't going to be able to ban it on map 4 and 5. It's even worse to ban it on King's Road. Yeah. So I think it's the right decision.
And then we saw as well the Sim come out again, and same old story. If it was just a fastest time wins on Escort Hybrid, you'd have this series in the bag. So the Sim stuff all works again, and then we see more Farah Freya. Is this the same type of logic in terms of just you're sort of trying to bully these main tank teams?
Yeah, I think what's really nice about having this Sim option, which I think, to be fair, they didn't ban Sim the whole series, so I think we're going to start to get Sim bans for sure. What's really nice is the Sim kind of says, you guys can't get too fucking like crazy with your comp, you know, like you play anything which is like, we ended up forcing them just to play a lot of Winston, Lucio Kiri stuff, right? Because you start to take the piss and you start to play Anna Kiri, you start to play anything that's too wide. The Sim Diva is just going to eat you alive. So I think even the threat of the Sim is likely to force teams into quite brawly matchups for us, because if you start to take the piss, you want to play Hanzo, Anna, Wu Yang, well, we're TPing in, you know, like that's just how it's going to go. so that even the sim worked, but I think it also, the fact that we can pick it anywhere becomes a real deterrent to teams too, in terms of they need to be careful about what they pick.
Is this why? Because obviously your second attack, we don't see the sim come out here. Was that something you had planned going in, or was this just sort of a call in the moment?
No, I think Lenny feels really confident to play sim where sim is really free, and then less confident to play it where it doesn't make sense, which is really good.
Yeah.
Because UB, obviously, nice. I'm not trying to blame UB here. Not trying to get all the hate from the TM fans, but UB will play sim when sim is not good, because what's the alternative, you know? Whereas for Lenny, that's what I said to him at the start. I said, I only really want you to play sim where sim is just objectively the right pick. If Tracer is the right pick, I'm not trying to force you on sim, mate. Like, go play Tracer. And I think somewhere this idea, like between like the Pharah, between Tracer, between sim, whatever you play, he has a hero which is actually really effective. It's actually a really nice system to have. It's like Alcad, for example. The reason I think Alcad consistently go above TM is not because their sim play is higher. It's because if they don't have to play sim, it's fine. You know, like they're going to get away with it. And I think for us, that becomes the same thing. If sim is not optimal, no reason for us to play. We don't have to play this hero at all. You know, like we have like Lenny's hero pool is way too big, and he has heroes that he can do way more on than sim. So yeah, that kind of ends up like I've come right. They must have defended with like Winston, Lucio Kiri. Is that what they defended with in overtime?
I think so. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you say, well, sim, like there's nothing splitting. There's like nothing. Sim's maybe not terrible into that, but it's also not mandatory, I think.
Obviously, yeah, bit of luck at the end, maybe with the C9 on their overtime to put it in distance. But then again, the attack theory seems to just keep holding true. So then back in the series, all of a sudden, New Queen Street is next, which probably anticipated. They're going to ban the Cass as well to try and enable the ball. So it feels like you probably very much knew what was coming here on the New Queen Street. But then it felt like you guys just dealt with the ball. Like, I think inherently, especially with a lot of the stuff we've seen in Korea as well, it feels like if it's a good ball map, the ball team just wins. But that really wasn't the case on New Queen Street at all. It was actually you who forced them to swap off ball, still playing Zarya. They swapped onto Winston, then you went Diva, and then you full cap. So did it feel like you were just ahead of them in the game here? And is Zarya maybe underrated against ball and all that as well?
I don't know. I think Zarya is pretty good. Like, I think in theory, ball should be really fine in that ban situation. I think for whatever reason, they didn't have confidence in the ball that day. Like, I think they really, really didn't want to play it. You know, I think they also rolled out on Lucio Kiri, which surprised me. Like, I really felt it was going to be Wu Yang Kiri. Like, I know generally speaking across the world, like teams are kind of going away from the Wu Yang Kiri. I think Lucio is getting more and more play time, but yeah, I felt that was one of those. I mean, I think it's funny, whenever I play against Gosaurus, I feel like similar things. You remember when we played Toronto in that big play-ins game, and we were really worried about their soldier comp and stuff like that, and then from their end, they just lost confidence in it. For us, it was the same thing. Like, we really respected their ball Wu Yang Kiri comp, and we expected them to play it a lot, and then they ended up, I think, actually 0%. Like, they almost never played Wu Yang Kiri against us. I think if you think only King's Row, like,
Rialto
didn't play. Like, they
banned on Illios,
yeah. Like the comp that we expected them to play their strongest, they didn't feel like they needed to play or felt like they could play. And then I think the ball Lucio Kiri, I think that all of a sudden starts to feel a lot more beatable. You know, like I think that comp is. First fight, I think Infected just ints, and then we get like a good lead, and then once we start to get the ults, I can kind of also, I think Winston's pretty good into what we play, so I think it's like also quite a natural swap for him to regardless of what's happening.
Then we get to Suravasa, and this maybe feels like, because on the rollout, and this maybe feels like an example of maybe where you did get the comp advantage, because you roll out on the Pharah Freya again, and they roll out on like Winston, Genji, Reaper, Moira, Lucio. Obviously, you'd ban Kiri in this situation as well, so RuPaul forced to pick something alternative. It felt like they'd almost pick a comp that was very much ready to just run you over if you were on Sim or if you were on Zarya, if you were anything like that. But then you roll out differently. Was that like the plan going in? Were you expecting them to try and counter your Zarya, or where was the mind game here?
Yeah, I think the Pharah Freya specifically was probably I think they didn't get that information is what I'm guessing. I think they expected us to play like, I think last time we played that map, that was the CJ's famous Moira game. So I think they probably expected us to do something similar, like Diva. I don't think they expected us to ban Kiri either, because Kiri is pretty important for our comps too, but we kind of took a real gamble on that. And then I think we ended up getting, like, again, Stunlock comp. You see, they just get totally Stunlocked once there's just 2 flyers just spamming it. I fucking love a good Stunlock.
Well, I did think it when you guys were on Farah Freya, and I was like, it'd be so nice if you had a Kiri or something to heal these guys. But but Wu Yang seemed to fill the void a little bit there. So then talk us through the Suravasa, because I imagine sitting in the coach's seat, this was a roller coaster of a map.
Yeah. Obviously, I mean, we win the comp battle, and then we win the first point without using an ult, which is really nice. And then we go into the second point. They full comp swap. They have no ults. We have 4 ults, and we fucking lose that fight. And then, oh my God, that's like because realistically, if you have all your ults for second point, you're in such a good position. But we use 4 ults. They use 0, and we lose. And that's the story of Suravasa. We do so much. We set ourselves up, and then we just get these massive ult advantages, and we just find a way to mess it up. I think there was tons of swapping back and forth. I think that Kiri ban specifically is the most chaotic for teams in general on a map like that, because like Lu Bap isn't a great backline, Lu Wu isn't a great backline. Everything is just a bit like, it just becomes chaotic. You see both teams go from Ana, Moira, Wu Yang, Bap, like everyone is just like perma swapping. And we made the swap onto the sim at the right time, and then we make it work. And then I don't know. I didn't realize until after the game that we had that ult advantage at 99-0 on the last point. Like I
sim will beat window fight.
And I didn't know we had it, and then I go back at it, and I'm like, oh my God! Like, I was
going to ask you if you thought like that was the moment. You know, like you're at 99, I think they're on like 50 something, and then it's just like your sim will beat window. Lep gets the beat off against the tidal blast. Like it was like a difficult one to get off, but he gets it off. Then the symbol comes down. And then all of a sudden, it's you guys in the kill feed, not them. I think they had like maybe Annihilation tidal blast. So you trade 1 for 1, then Annihilation versus symbol window. I was going to ask if you thought that was the moment you had it in the bag, but I guess
no, I didn't clock it at the time. I didn't clock the situation was as good for us as it was. I think the reality is like when I was with TM, I'll say for EWC. If one team has beaten, the other team doesn't, that's such a tricky fight. Like in this meta, like it's so hard to win a beat disadvantage fight. And I think for us, I think the plan, this is what I'm talking about, like the plans, we just need to improve them a little. I think the plan, in my opinion, to go with Symbol and to try to do some like back to front stuff is the wrong way around. I think the reality is there just needs to be a Kellex beat into the TP and 5 people come out of it, and then something dies. And then if we need to go back to point with the symbol in the window at the end, I think it's okay. But to me, this is like, ultimately, it really sucks to lose, but I take so many positives from it. You know, like there is so much that we can improve on the style, and so much stuff that I feel really confident I know how to improve it, like stuff that I and we have done before. And the fact that like already on a patch, which maybe isn't like hyper optimal for us and is a good patch for them, and we've been together for a few weeks, I can see so much that we can improve on. And I think we're already, I mean, we were there, mate, 99-0 with that. Like there wasn't like, a time machine, and we can easily win that fight, you know, just a time machine away. So yeah, I don't know. It kind of sucks in the end, but I think it was like as good a loss as you could get, you know, like there's endless positives to take from the loss. Given you did end up seeing the defeat screen.
Yeah, I think there's moments like this as well. The example I always use, I'm sure you remember it as well, was that Houston Outlaws game in season 6 of London where we lose 3-2, but it felt like we should have 5-0. Like I've never seen a team so full of confidence walking away from a defeat screen. Like it was a real vitalizer. So we sort of like go sort of big picture here in terms of the power rankings. Obviously, you don't play, I think, GK until the last week now, but where do you see yourself then actually in the top of North America?
I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I'm interested to see GK because I haven't been massively impressed with GK in scrims so far, but my feeling is that's actually a team that's when the lights get bright, they're better. Like that's my feeling, is the way that they are. So I think playing them in official will be a different story. But my feeling in terms of power rankings is I think right now us and Team Liquid are the top two, and then like GK and Nightmare are like somewhere between third and fourth. I know GK 3-0'd Nightmare, but I think there was enough circumstances to where like there's enough asterisks is there that Nightmare can feel okay. I think this patch also isn't that great for GK compared to Liquid. I think that's why everybody kind of had Liquid as like the clear number one as of this patch. But I think if you said to me like 3 weeks ago when we started scrimming, or whenever it was, 4 weeks, I guess now, like bring in this whole new team, Hawks back out of retirement, all of this stuff, and you say you're already right there, like competing at the top, I would have said, that's fine. Like these teams, GK and Liquid, they've been together a lot longer than us. They've had 2 or potentially even 3 stages with their cores or with their full rosters, with their system and with this. And we're learning a lot, like we've still got so much to improve on. I think the fact that we're already there is, what I'm most confident on is we can grow more in these 4 weeks than those teams can. That's the one thing that I'm really confident that we have more to work on, more fundamentals, more basics, more understanding of how to be the team that we want to be. Whereas I feel like those teams should be closer to their finished goal. Like it's harder to make the argument that GK, in 4 weeks we're going to learn how to communicate better. Like they should have already learned that. There's like so many basics that we still don't quite have down that they do. So for me, I come away from everything that's happened across this 4 weeks without even having to cope, with just genuine confidence. So yeah.
No, yeah, I feel like talking to you about the nitty-gritty of the matches, it feels actually, there's like there's stuff from all of it. Feels right direction.
Yeah.
Obviously, the next challenge, maybe a bit simpler. You're up against the Dhillducks next week. Any worries, concerns here? Any particular player you're watching out for or anything like that?
To be honest, I don't know. I don't really know who's on their roster. I think we'll be okay. My feeling is I think we'll be okay. I think they have won a map so far.
Not yet, no. So there is a little bit of a you don't want to be the first team to drop a map to the Ducks this stage, but
yeah. I mean, when I was on Philly, we did that to LA Valiant on that famous Numbani, which stopped us going to land. But I think we'll be okay. I think in general in NA, more than EU, I think you get some really nice weeks. Like the next 2 weeks, at the risk of sounding incredibly disrespectful to our opponents, I think you get a few like nice weeks where you can just have I always felt on TU, I felt this constant thing where we could just pause time and just give me 1 week to build some stuff before we go into an official, which just drains our confidence and resets us back to zero, it'd be nice. But on TU, every game, it was just a dogfight. It was just, and you would play Peps, and this wasn't an easy week. And then you were constantly chasing your tail. Like you could never just build up momentum. Whereas in these next 2 weeks, like if we want to practice a new comp, or if we want to teach Hawk how to play a ball, or whatever it ends up being, we can. Like there's like an element of this is what's nice about NA. And then we'll get to the GK game, and it was the same with Liquid. Even though we lost this week, it was like, well, the 2 weeks previously, they were quite low stress. Like the first week, it was like, fuck, I really wish I had a bit more time to prep for Nightmare. Let's hope we can get it done. But it's like, we've got a whole week. And then so this is nice. Like these 2 weeks is very low stress. I think, this could be like a psycho unbeatable moment. And I think we're good. Like we're feeling as we're okay. So yeah, I think the next 2 weeks, I think we'll be okay.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Chris. I appreciate all your time, and obviously best of luck for the rest of the season and playoffs. And I'm sure we'll speak again soon.
Thank you, mate.